Hi everyone, Ryan Rubino here. What I want to talk about today is a question that's been coming up quite a bit recently and is a little bit more specific to Epic-based health systems. And the basic question is just how are other Epic-based health systems similar to us deploying Arcadia, and how does that complement the technology that we have in place? And I think for anybody that's invested in Epic, it's a big investment. There's a desire for a kind of a unified set of workflows and a unified technology platform, and those teams want to understand, rightfully so, how Arcadia is able to complement that solution. And I'm going to talk about a few of those key areas that I've seen that are just kind of common across most of the Arcadia deployments for Epic-based customers, and then our common interests for other health systems that I talk to as well. So the first common area of interest that I see across these organizations is related to data integration. And kind of core to this in pretty much all of these circumstances is both claims and clinical data. So claims and eligibility from the payers that are associated with those value-based care agreements that these customers or prospects are involved with. And then clinical data at a minimum, which would be from Epic, and then often would include EHR data from other affiliated practices within that network. And bringing all of that data into a unified warehouse that can be used both for analytics or for workflow integration, but really kind of that core foundation that is used for value-based care analytics and workflow tools. And I think to the consideration to potentially do this in-house with your own resources, it's difficult. It's difficult to find the right resources. It's difficult to do the work. And I think that those organizations that are looking to rely on Arcadia for it understand that we've done this a lot, arguably more than anyone else, and we're good at it. It's not easy, but we're good at it. And we have over 2,600 EHR and claims data sources mapped actively for our customers, encompassing more than 170 million patient records. So, we do this a lot, we do it well, and even if you have strong resources in-house, can you deploy those folks to other higher value tasks rather than kind of just that foundational keeping the lights on type work that Arcadia could help support for you. So, interest area number 2, and this is related to analyst efficiency. And I think, again, pulling on that value-based care analytics thread, many of the organizations that are either using Arcadia or interested in Arcadia want and desire to make their analyst teams more efficient with the work that they're able to produce. And I think some of this really builds on kind of that foundational data integration effort, but it's not only integrating this data into a harmonized warehouse and unified data set, but also enriching that data and making it and structuring it in such a way that makes analytics and value-based care much more efficient. And that's a big part of what Arcadia helps support, makes our own analysts more efficient, but makes our customer analysts more efficient as well. So that's kind of one part of it. The other part from an analyst efficiency standpoint is related to pre-built analytics content. And Arcadia has a growing content library. And when I say content, I mean complex BI dashboards, complex reports that have been built and cultivated with leading organizations in value-based care over many years that are the type of things that for many healthcare organizations, I think they would take often maybe 6 to 12 months of development, where you have analysts working with either providers or other administrative leaders going through iterative cycles, trying to come up with the right way to view data, the right way to scrub that information. And can you just pluck one of these off the shelf? Maybe it gets you 80% of the way there or 100% of the way there, and then further tweak and customize it. But again, can you supercharge that analytics team and make them that much more efficient so that they're not just working on kind of, foundational is probably not even the right word, because I think there's some really powerful capabilities that can come right out of the box, but really make those analysts more efficient as part of the process. So, common interest area number 3 is risk suspecting and risk adjustment. And this goes hand in hand with some of what I was just talking about from a data enrichment process, but more specifically data enrichment for risk suspecting. And kind of just building on that foundational set of data integration. If we have all clinical data and all claims data available, including structured and unstructured data from those clinical data sources, basically means more data, more rules, more potential rules, and at the end of the day, more accurate suspected risk to help with your coding process. And as I look at any organization in value-based care, if you are not using technology to aid with the process of more accurate coding and documentation, you are likely not getting the budget that you deserve to manage the patients in these value-based care agreements. So just the power of that risk adjustment engine is huge. The second part of that too is once you identify these opportunities, how do you actually act on them? And in the case of Epic, a big piece of that puzzle is related to EHR point of care integration. And we inject those risk suspects into native Epic BPA workflows via the Epic App Orchard. So really, getting that information, getting those insights seamlessly in front of providers without having them have to go into any other systems. And really, they almost don't even really know that Arcadia is involved. It's just a more powerful set of suspects integrated with those workflows. The fourth common area of interest is related to quality and quality measures in particular. So this is something that's been important for population health and value-based care for a very long time. And I think anybody that's tried to do this, it looks not that bad when you start to do it. It's a numerator, it's a denominator, it's some exclusions. And the reality of it is there's just a lot more complexity and logic that's associated with these quality measures. And there are a ton of these quality measures, and they change every single year. And at Arcadia, we manage over 1,000 of these. They're updated every year for our customers. We have a pretty robust QA process in place, just kind of as an ongoing way of making sure that there is trust behind those calculations. And effectively, we're able to take a large burden of effort off of the shoulders of those customers. And rather than having them try to just figure out how to calculate these measures, we can have them focus on, what are the right measures or what are the right strategies to actually drive performance and drive action and drive improvements in these domains, rather than just, working on the calculations and the dashboards and the analytics to help support that. So, in summary, the four common areas of interest that I covered: data integration, analyst efficiency, risk adjustment and risk suspecting, and quality. I would say for most of the folks that I talk with, there are typically a number of interests that go beyond those domains. Those are just areas that are pretty much core to almost all of these conversations. And Arcadia is a very broad platform, and there's a lot of other capabilities that we also support. Thanks so much for listening today. Let me know if you think there are other things that I should have discussed in this, or anything that you'd like to add to the mix, or if you'd like to talk about how some of this might apply to your particular health system or organization. And thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.